The autumn wind moved like a quiet warning through the narrow streets of Ridgeway, the kind of town where people assumed nothing bad ever really happened. Golden leaves scraped along sidewalks like tiny whispers, scattering under the feet of schoolchildren making their way home. Among them were Talia, Maya, and Riley, 3 girls who had walked this same path for years safe. Familiar routine. But for the last several months, routine had mutated into dread. Every day after school, the moment they turned past the brick wall behind the track field, the boys would emerge Derek, Cole, and Lance older, stronger and cruel to the bone, the kind of kids who wore smirks like badges and laughter like weapons. At first, it was mockery names, jeers, comments that stung but didn't scar. But cruelty never stays small, and soon their behavior grew darker, more invasive, more threatening than anyone dared to admit out loud. The girls never told their parents. Feared as strange things, locking words behind shaking teeth, convincing hearts to stay quiet, insisting that speaking up would only make everything worse. So every afternoon, the girls walked home praying to be invisible, hoping the bullies would grow bored. But they never did. On this particular Tuesday, the air felt heavy, something indescribable, like the whole town was waiting for a shift. The girls walked fast, clutching their backpacks like shields. Their sneakers scraped the pavement as the school's final bell echoed behind them. As they turned the corner, Talia's breath caught in her throat. There they were, leaning against the old chain-link fence, smirking as if they owned the path. Well, Derek drawled, stepping forward. Look who's late today. His voice dripped with mock sweetness. Maya's fingers trembled. We don't want trouble, just let us pass. Cole blocked their path, sliding a foot forward. But trouble wants you, he said, tapping the top of her backpack. Right, Lance? Lance grinned, cruel and wide. Riley swallowed hard, shifting slightly behind the others. She had been the quiet one, and the boys took special pleasure in targeting her silence. Derek reached for Maya's bag, jerking it from her shoulder. At least pretend you want to be friendly. Maya gasped as the weight pulled her off balance. But what the boys didn't realize was that they were being watched. At the far end of the street, under the wide shadow of a rusted water tower, a line of black motorcycles idled. Their riders' leather jackets, heavy boots, scarred knuckles leaned casually against their bikes, arms crossed, eyes cold as steel. They were known as the Ridgeway Guardians by some, Trouble on Wheels by others, depending on who was telling the story. But everyone agreed on one thing. You never wanted to be on their bad side. Their leader, Axel Rivers, stood with a presence that cut through the air like a blade tall. Shoulders wide, tattoos creeping up his arms like stories written in ink. His eyes narrowed as he watched the scene unfolding. He nudged the rider beside him. Rider, he murmured, low and dangerous. You see what I'm seeing? Rider's jaw clenched. Kids again. Same ones from last week. And no one's done a damn thing, Axel said, pushing away from his bike. The engines fell silent as the men exchanged sharp looks. Not a single one of them needed instructions. They had all grown up in this town, many with bruises and scars, to prove that Ridgeway had always had shadows. Some of them had been those kids years ago, ignored, unheard, treated like problems instead of children. Not today. Back on the path, Derek shoved Maya backward. She stumbled into Talia, who nearly fell. Riley stepped up in front of them, shaking but brave. Stop, she shouted. Just leave us alone. Her voice cracked, but it was the loudest she had ever dared to be. Derek smirked, stepping closer. Or what? You gonna cry again? Riley's eyes burned with tears. Cole grabbed Talia's backpack, unzipping it to dump her books onto the pavement. But a low thunder rolled across the street steady, controlled, growing louder with every second. The boys froze. Confusion flickered, onto their faces before fear replaced it, because around the corner came the bikers. The guardians rode slowly, purposefully, engines rumbling like a storm. The sunlight reflected off chrome and leather and steel. The boys backed up immediately, masks of bravado slipping into sheer panic. Axel swung off his bike, boots thudding onto the pavement. He walked with a steady calm that looked more dangerous than rage. "You boys lost?" he asked, voice steady. Derek swallowed. We're not doing anything." "Didn't ask what you're doing," Axel replied. "I asked if you're lost." Lance tried to step back, but Ryder blocked him. Lips curled into a cold smirk. "You three seem awfully comfortable picking on people half your size," Ryder said, cracking his knuckles. Derek stuttered. We were just joking around." "Joking," Axel repeated slowly, as though tasting the word and finding it bitter. He crouched down to pick up Talia's fallen math book, brushing dirt off its cover before handing it gently back to her. "You okay?" he asked softly. Talia nodded, tears clinging to her lashes. "Thank you," she whispered. Axel's jaw tightened. He straightened and turned back to the boys. "Here's how this is going to go," he said, stepping closer. "You're going to apologize. You're going to mean it. And you're not going to come near these girls again. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Understood?" Cole sputtered. You can't tell us what to do." The bikers laughed, not loud, but dark. A single sound from Ryder was enough to shut the boy up instantly. Axel took one more step forward, and Derek felt the air shift. "Son?" Axel said slowly. "I'm not asking." Derek's throat bobbed. "So sorry," he muttered. "Didn't hear you." "We're sorry," Derek said louder, voice shaking. The others echoed him quickly. Axel studied them for a long moment before nodding. "Now get." The boys didn't need to be told twice. They ran tripping over each other, scrambling to get as far away as possible. The moment they were gone, Axel's expression softened. "You girls hurt?" Riley wiped her eyes. "Just scared." "Yeah," Ryder said gently, kneeling to help her gather her scattered notes. "But you're safe now." Maya looked at the group uncertainly. "Why did you help us?" Axel exchanged a glance with his crew. "Because someone should have helped us when we were your age." He turned to Talia. "Where do you live?" "On Cedar Street," she replied. "We'll walk you," Axel said. "Far as you need." Unexpected warmth bloomed in their chests. Safety, relief, something they hadn't felt in months. The walk home was slow, steady, quiet. The girls stayed in the middle, while the bikers flanked them like an armored escort. Neighbors peeked through curtains, astonished at the sight. 3 schoolgirls, walking between the toughest men in town, guarded like royalty. As they reached Cedar Street, Riley paused. "Will the boys come back?" Axel held her gaze. "If they do," he said, "tell them the guardians are looking for them." The girls smiled, small but real. "Thank you," Talia whispered. "For everything." "Anytime," Ryder said. The bikers turned and headed back toward the water tower. But the story didn't end there. The next day at school, the bullies kept their heads down. Derek flinched every time he heard a motorcycle engine. Cole avoided the hallway altogether. Lance apologized again, sincerely this time. The harassment stopped. Word spread fast across the school, across Ridgeway, across neighboring towns. And slowly, a legend grew. The girls were safe. The bullies were quiet. And the bikers? They became something more, symbols of unexpected protection, reminders that sometimes the most unlikely heroes ride in on 2 wheels. And from that day on, whenever the final bell rang, 3 girls walked home, feeling the one thing they thought they'd lost forever. Peace. Safety. And power. Because someone finally stood up for them. Because someone finally cared. And because the guardians were always watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Empathy Stories. And before you scroll away, tell us in the comments,